Hi there, friends. I'm Mary Knabe, coming to you live from Columbus, Ohio on Thursday, February 27th. And it's a pretty day here. It's been very dark and gloomy and rainy this week, but we've had some sunshine today and warmer temperature, so it's very nice. But I'm just as happy to be here with you as I am to be able to take a nice walk outside. If you're watching on replay, thank you. I appreciate you just as much as I do the live viewers. Today I have more cards to demonstrate for you using the Beautiful Butterflies bundle. And if you were not here with me on the last live or saw my last video on YouTube or stampinpeace.com, we made 3 cards. This is a white on white. Kind of hard to show up there, but a white on white, and then a Berry Burst happy birthday card, one of my favorite colors. And then we did a fun fold, sort of a card within a card. So I've got a butterfly shaped card on the front, but then I also have it on a regular card base, so you have plenty of space to stamp a message or write a personal note, whatever you like. So if you missed that, these cards are up on stampinpeace.com and also my YouTube channel, Stampin' Peace with Mary Knabe. And I would love it if you would subscribe to one or the other or both. I'm going to flip my camera around now so we can get started. I've got 3 cards to show you today, and I'm excited about it. While I'm flipping my camera, would you please share this live video with others and invite them to join us today? Okay, let me just adjust this so I can hopefully see your comments. There we go. Oh, lots have already joined us. Thank you. So the Beautiful Butterflies bundle comes with 3 parts, actually. The butterfly stamp set, this awesome die set. I've got all my pieces in here because I've been using this a lot this week, but it comes in a nice large envelope. And then it has this hybrid embossing folder. And as you'll see today, the hybrid embossing folder can be used just as a standard embossing folder, or it can be combined with this die and do some embossing and cutting at the same time. So it does a whole lot, making it very, very versatile. And making it easy for us to use in different ways. It's great for beginners as well as advanced stampers and card makers. And I should say paper crafters, because a lot of times people use these sort of things for scrapbook pages and collages, things like that. So for this first card, let me set those aside. I've got a card base here that measures 5.5 by 8.5 inches, and I've scored it down the middle at 4 1/4. I'm going to bring in my large Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And what I want to do is die cut the butterfly shape on one side of my card base. There are little indented lines on the left and right side top of this die. And what I want to do is line up those little indentations with the fold of my card. So not the edge of the die, but those little indentations with the fold of the card. And actually, I'm going to put it through this way. And just to make sure it stays in place, I want those indentation lines to match up with my fold just right. And I am centering my die left to right on the card front. looks pretty good. And I'll do one on this side. This is fun because I consider this a fun fold die. It's an easy way to make a fun fold card. So roll it through my machine. And I'm going to bring it back through. And then carefully I'm going to lift off this die. And you can see this little cutout is right in there. We can remove that. Whoops. And then I'm going to fold this. Now from here, there are two things that you can do. You can cut off, let me do it this way. You can cut these little outside bits on the fold, and you would have this as your card base. So if you were here on Tuesday, I showed in that Facebook Live, I showed my inspiration card. This was from my friend Sandy, and that's what she did. She just added some color to her white card base, but that's how she used it. Today, I'm going to use it in a different way. I'm actually going to keep this on, and I'm going to adhere it to the base. Making the butterfly shape my actual opening and closing card. So just add a little adhesive. I want to press that down. Okay, so this is what I have now. So again, I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And this time I'm going to cut. I'm going to use the same thing here. I do want to get this piece of paper out of there. If you leave paper in those negative spaces, it can pile up and then it makes, the cutting is not as sharp, okay? So you always want to remove negative spaces left in your dies, whether they're large or small. Now for this, I am going to put it to, I have to think a second. Yes, same thing. I'm going to line up those indented lines on the die with the top edge of my DSP. And you may not, or probably don't recognize this DSP unless you are a demonstrator and purchased it in the demonstrator pre-order that's happening right now. It is from the, let me double check the name. Whoops, that's not it. Oh, I double check the name before I give it to you. Lovely Garden Suite. It's from the Lovely Garden Suite. And it's just, wait, I mean, this is like the plain frosting on the cake. Wait till you get to the fancy flowers and things. It's gorgeous designer series paper, and it just screams spring colors and summer. But it will be available next week, Tuesday, I believe. So I'm going to pull this out. And then I'm going to do it one more time, but this time I'm doing it with white cardstock. So same thing, I'm just going to line up those indented lines on my die with the edge of the white cardstock. And then I'll run this through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So if you're making this card on your own, I would suggest go ahead and get your all your die cutting out of the way first for this card, and then you can put the whole card together. Oh, Carol Holmes says it's running slow. Okay, it doesn't look like that on my screen. So hopefully it's okay now for everybody. And now what I'm going to do is add each of these to my card base. Now, you can just take your snips and trim a little bit if you get, you know, some stray paper like that. And then you actually want to just make sure this is nice and straight. I just don't want anything, what do I want to say? I don't want any fringes of designer series paper. So the next thing I'm going to do is adhere this to my base. I'm using just a little bit of multi-purpose glue. You can use Stampin' Seal if you prefer. But notice I'm just using a tiny bit so it's not oozing out everywhere. And I'm going to start at the bottom of the butterfly and match up that butterfly shape in the DSP to the shape of the card front. Now from here you can check if you've got any bits of DSP hanging over. Simply take your snips and trim it right along the fold. Easy peasy. Just gives it a nice polished, finished look, okay? Then I have this one. Now for the inside, I'm going to insert this right here. One thing I want to do is it picked up some of the adhesive from my Post-it tape. Oops, that's the wrong one. So I want to get that off of there. Okay. And then for this one, so that, I'll show you. I want to trim off a little bit on the left and right top because I want it to fold nicely. And this is just a little bit too long. So I'm just going to take my snips and cut off the slightest little bit. We can always cut off more. So start with a little bit. So I'm going to say cut off a smidge or a sliver, as my dad would have said. And then try it out. Just press it into place. If it folds smoothly, great. If it doesn't, just trim a little bit more. I'm going to take just a slight amount off of here. Okay. So it's like I trimmed almost nothing. As close to nothing as you could possibly get, okay? Just that teeny tiny little bit. Oh, Carol, good, I misunderstood. You meant you're running slow. Hey, I have days like that. But you're here, and hopefully being here ends up being a very good part of your day. Okay. Another little bit of adhesive right there. I love these adhesive erasers. If you don't have one, I highly recommend it. They're very inexpensive. I got mine on Amazon, but they probably have them at most craft stores, maybe even office supply stores. I'm not sure though. All right, so that's what I have. And let's finish off this card with a little stamping, and then we'll add some ribbon. So on the outside here, I'm going to stamp Happy Birthday. This is from the Beautiful Butterflies bundle. And then on the inside, Time to Celebrate, again from that same Beautiful Butterflies stamp set. And I'll just try to get it straight across here. And I've used Fresh Freesia ink and Fresh Freesia cardstock for this card. then let's finish it off. This Fresh Freesia seam binding ribbon is one of the items you can choose as a freebie with a celebration order of $60 or more. I should say 60 if you're in the US. Depends what market you're in. But here in the US, if you place a $60 order, by tomorrow, February 28th is the last day of celebration, then you can choose a free item. And this is one of those free items. Real easy to work with because it's so thin, and it is intentionally crinkled. It's called crinkled seam binding. So you don't have to worry that, oh gosh, it looks all wrinkled. Do I really want that? Actually, it really makes a nice look. And I'm surprised. The first time they came out with crinkled seam binding many years ago, I thought, oh, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can do the crinkled. But I actually love it. I think it gives it kind of a, oh, what do I want to say? Maybe like a shabby chic look, I'll say. Need to trim this a little bit more. Have it a little bit more even. And then I'm just going to adhere this bow with a mini glue dot. Oh, Peggy, they have those, the adhesive erasers at Dollar Tree. Good to know. I should pick up some extra when I'm there. And I'm just going to put it right there in the center. And there's my completed card. Okay, there's my completed card. And I love how it turned out. It's a little unexpected. I will say, if you feel this is not enough space for you to write a message, you can flip this over and simply add a piece of white cardstock to the back side and write a more lengthy personal message if you like. Okay, so there's card number 1. Moving on to card number 2. This time I am using, I've got all kinds of pieces and parts. This time I am using the hybrid embossing folder. And I want to make sure I have all the parts. You know what? I'm going to put my actual card base together first and then do the embossing. And I've already done some die cutting ahead of time, just to keep things moving. So my card base is Highland Heather, and again, it measures 5.5 by 8.5 inches. And my white inside is 5.25 by 4 inches. And then on the front, I've got basic white that's measuring 4 3/4 by 3.5. And I'm adhering this to Gorgeous Grape cardstock, which measures 5 by 3 3/4. And the layers will be adhered to the center of my card front. And then I'm ready to do some embossing and die cutting with my hybrid embossing folder. And again, as I told you, the dies can be used separate in this bundle. The embossing folder can be used separately, or you can combine them by putting this die in here, and it really just sits. You'll feel it when it's in place, and it won't move, okay? If it's not quite in place, you'll know. But once it falls into place, you'll know. I'm going to use a, let's see, well, just enough, I need just enough cardstock to cut out this, to die cut and emboss that butterfly, the large butterfly. One thing I want to point out here, take this as a reminder. And I can say I've learned from experience, always make sure that when you're using embossing folders, you're putting the folded end in first. Very important. If you don't, it can crack and break apart into two pieces, okay? And it just doesn't work the same if it's not one folded piece. So put that in, and this is one where you're gonna have to really pay attention because it's a different direction than what that big butterfly is going. So fold end in first. And I've used platform 1 and 4 for this embossing folder. And that's what I get. So it gave all that beautiful embossing to my butterfly while it die cut it at the same time. Stunning, right? Take a look at the back too. Sometimes I like using a debossed side of my embossed cardstock. They don't all necessarily appeal to me on the debossed side, but this is one that really does. I would feel comfortable using this either way, depending on what my project is and how I'm feeling at the moment. So bring back in my card base. I'm going to pop this up with some dimensionals and adhere it right to the center of my card front. And I could stop right here. This is a pretty card in itself. And depending on what level of crafter you are, maybe you're more of at the beginning stage, you might be just, or if you just like more simple cards, you might be very happy just to leave this as is, maybe add a little bling or something. Very nice card. But I'm going to step it up by adding some detailed gorgeous grape, a detailed gorgeous grape butterfly. So I've already die cut this. Here, I'll show you the dies. I cut the body with that, or the wings with that, and then the body. And both were die cut with from Gorgeous Grape cardstock. And I'm just going to lay this here. This is the only place right here in the center, this little body part. That's the only place I'm putting the adhesive because I want those wings to lift off the card. But I'm laying it there because I do want the butterfly to be centered within the larger embossed butterfly. And then I'm going to add this little body and head. I'm not putting adhesive on the antenna, but with adhering the rest of the body, those antenna lay right on top of the Highland Heather antenna. And that way I'm not getting glue places I don't want it. These are just so fine that I don't think you even need to adhere those antenna. You don't need to worry about that. And then why not decorate the inside of the card? Again, I die cut these pieces beforehand. Just add a dot of glue in the center of this little butterfly, like that. Give it a couple seconds to dry, and then I will add the body and the antenna. Plus, if you don't put glue on the antenna, it gives you something to hold on to when you're adhering the body to the butterfly. I'm in a purple mood today. I don't know why, but... And there you have it. You can, if you like, bling it up a little bit. I was going to add some colored sequins, and I decided, no, I just like this clean, what do I want to say? Just a very clean look to it. And there's so much detail on the layers of butterflies. I just thought, I'm going to leave it just as is. But here's something you can do, which is sort of an in-between between not adding any embellishment and adding embellishments. How about a little wink of Stella? I'm going to put some right on the body here. It's working like a paintbrush for me. And then what I like about the wink of Stella is it's so subtle. And I know it's difficult to see on video, but it just dries with a little bit of shimmer, okay? Just a little bit of shimmer. And I'm just going around the outer edge and between the wings of the detailed butterfly on top. Oh, it's looking pretty. So to me, this was just enough bling or extra without it taking away from the details of the butterfly and the simplicity of the card. Sort of simple and elegant. Okay. Again, I don't know that you can see that shimmer all that well. So I just gave it a little wink of Stella. Okay, that's card number 2. And let's move on to card number 3. Oh, we can stamp some butterflies on the envelopes at the end too. For this card, I think again I'm going to put the pieces of the base together and then do the embossing and die cutting. And this will happen very, very quickly. It's a gorgeous grape card base, measures 8.5 by 5.5 inches, scored at 4 1/4 down the center. And my white, again, is 4 inches by 5 1/4. Now, this piece of Highland Heather has been cut to 5 1/4 inches by 4 inches. 5 1/4 by 4. And once again, I'm going to be using the hybrid embossing folder, which means I'm using the embossing folder with that die cut. Okay, it just slips right in place. I'm going to lay this on top. And once I have it in there, I can kind of move this around as I want. And I'm going to be putting a sentiment near the bottom here of that cardstock. So I'm actually kind of turning my cardstock. Well, let's see. Let's do it this way. Get more of an angle on the butterfly. And it's more towards the top of the cardstock. One thing to keep in mind here, the edge of the die may or may not be the cutting edge on the opposite side. I'll show you what I mean. On this die, the outside edge of the die is a cutting edge because it's raised on the back side, right along that edge. On this one, the edge of the die is not the cutting edge. The cutting edge is on the inside. And I say that to you because some of you may be watching me arrange this cardstock in here and be thinking, wait a second, Mary, the die is going beyond the edge of the paper. Is it going to cut out the entire butterfly like we want it to? And I'm telling you, yes, it will, because on this particular die, the cutting edge is on the inside. So think about that. It doesn't always play a factor in our project, but sometimes it does. Again, I'm going to turn it so that the fold of my embossing folder is going in first. Bring in platform 1. Got my fold going in first, and then platform 4. And I'm ready to roll. And this is what I have. And this time I will be using both parts, okay? The large butterfly plus the negative space. And I'm going to start by adhering this negative space to my card front. You can see a couple of these sides are very, very narrow. So I want to be extra careful about how much of the glue I'm applying there. And I'm going to start at the bottom, trying to space that evenly at those 2 corners, and then just lay that cardstock down. Okay. Now I'm going to adhere this, but I want it to be able to pop off the page a bit, okay? So I'm going to put some, if I can find them, here they are. I'm going to put a couple of dimensionals just on the body of the butterfly, not the wings. And I'll just fit it in so I get everything lined up like that. So now I can see that darker shade of purple, that gorgeous grape shade behind the Highland Heather shade. Again, I could stop and leave it like that, but I did die cut the wings and the body from Gorgeous Grape cardstock, which matches the base. Again, just lay it in here to kind of line it up, center it in there. And that looks good. And I'll add the body. That glue gives me a few extra seconds to slide pieces around if I need to. So now I've got this butterfly flapping all its wings, layers and layers of wings, okay? Now I went ahead and stamped So Thankful, which is a sentiment from the butterfly, Beautiful Butterflies stamp set. And I die cut it with this, which comes in the bundle as well. I also die cut a piece from Gorgeous Grape. And here's a little trick you can do. This works with many of our punches as well. Cut it in half. I use my silicone craft sheets. And I'm going to add, do it this way, a little bit of glue to one end of my sentiment. And I'm going to lay it onto the Gorgeous Grape to create a little bit of border on the left end. And just by putting my fingers on the top and bottom, I know I've got those 2 pieces lined up well. So now I'll do it with the other side. And you can make these ends as long or as short if you want. If you want more of the Gorgeous Grape showing, you can do that. If you want a little less, you can do that. Okay. By adding that little bit of gorgeous scrape, it is helping to pop the sentiment off of the Highland Heather layer, the same color, okay? So that's what it looks like on the back. And then I will just add a couple of dimensionals. I'll put this on the front. Okay, now for this card, I'm going to stamp first. I'm going to stamp on the inside. Just a small butterfly with the gorgeous scrape ink. I'm going to stamp it right in the center. Doing my best to center it from left to right and top to bottom. That looks pretty good. And then I will add a little bit of bling to this card. Now these are called purple adhesive back sequins. And these two are part of the celebration freebies. So you get a sheet, 4 colors, and they each have 2 sizes. I've enjoyed using these. This has been one of my favorite of the celebration choices. And again, you can decide, do you want bling or not? Remember, you never should feel like you have to do something exactly like somebody else. Even if you're taking inspiration or casing from them, always feel free to change things up as you wish. And there's that finished card. All right, let me bring all these back in. And I'll stamp some envelopes. Okay. And, okay, I've got 3 envelopes. 2 of them I will stamp with the gorgeous grape butterfly. Oh, this one, maybe I'll put this one on the flap. Change it up a little bit. Okay, and this one I want to do in fresh freesia. So let me grab my chamois and clean off that, clean off that stamp. And then I'll stamp this envelope with the fresh freesia so it coordinates. Okay, so what do you think? More ways to use that wonderful, beautiful butterflies bundle with the hybrid embossing folder. So you've got examples of different ways that you can use that bundle. In addition to the ways I showed you in the last Facebook Live, which is now up on stampinpiece.com or on YouTube, Stampin' Piece with Mary Knabe. So, and if you don't know, or if you're new to my Facebook page here, after I do a Facebook Live, within the next couple of days, they always get put on my YouTube channel, as well as my blog, stampinpiece.com. And when they're on stampinpiece.com, I will type out all of the dimensions for you. There's a link to all of the products that I used. So that's where you're going to get the most information with all the details. All right. Okay, so do you have a favorite? Somebody just said, who was that? Somebody just said they can't even choose a favorite. Rose says she loves them all. I'm glad you do. To me, they're happy cards. They're cheerful. And yet you can use them really for any occasion. I would send one of these as hope, encouragement, maybe even a sympathy card. I don't know if I would use the purples or not. Great spring card, could even be an Easter card with the bright colors, as well as happy occasions, congratulations, happy birthday, etc. Okay. All right. Carol says her favorite is 3. The all purple one, but all are amazing, Doris says. I think she's talking about this one, all purple. Oh, okay. You guys like the last one the best. That's probably my favorite, I will say. And here's a sneak peek of that lovely garden DSP that's coming out next week. And you don't want to miss that. Okay, you need a code word. How about so thankful? Because I'm so thankful for all of you for giving me the opportunity to share what I love to do with you. It is always my pleasure. Next week, I've been working on my Facebook Lives projects for next week. I will be showing new product and be using the lovely garden suite. So please plan to join me on Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on Facebook, stampinpeace.com, or Stampin' Peace with Mary Knabe. Oh, get those mixed up, okay? All right, everybody have a great weekend, and until we meet again, happy stamping.